All right, for the order. Be seated, please.
All right. The court yesterday, after the jury had come in and rendered their verdict, said it would set a sentencing hearing this morning. Mr. Fox, I believe you requested that. Is there any evidence in aggravation or mitigation in this case?
Yes, Your Honor. The state would like to introduce evidence in aggravation and victim impact statement as well as argument.
Okay. All right.
Your Honor, we would be presenting evidence in mitigation as well as argument.
All right. Mr. Rigby, you would like to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Connie Grinstead would like to speak on behalf of Tara Grinstead's family.
Yes, ma'am. If you would just state your name for the court reporter so she can take that down.
My name is Connie Grinstead.
All right, Ms. Grinstead, you may proceed.
I'm
Can
here.
you hear her now?
Can you hear me okay?
If you pull that microphone up kind of maybe a little bit closer, can you?
Is that better?
Okay. She said it's okay.
Okay.
All right, you may proceed.
I'm here today to speak on behalf of Tara's dad and myself. October 2005 was the beginning of one of the most painful journeys that I think any family could ever be faced with, and the defendant was right in the middle of it. We know he wasn't charged with Tara's murder, but for over 11 years, he watched all of us who loved her suffer unimaginable pain and heartache as we frantically searched for her and prayed that by some miracle we might find her alive. He watched innocent people's lives turned upside down because they were falsely accused. He watched whole communities in turmoil because Tara was missing Osceola, where she lived and worked, her hometown of Hawkinsville, and even areas beyond. What he didn't see was the fear in the eyes of the young children in our family who were afraid to even go outside and play because they thought if somebody took Tara, they might take me too. What he didn't see was my elderly mother who lived in an assisted living home and who would sit every day with her face in her hands, worried and upset because we couldn't find Tara. When the workers would ask her what was wrong, she would say, "I'm just so worried about Tara." My mother had a stroke and died 28 days after Tara disappeared. The workers in that home told me they fully believed the stress of Tara's disappearance brought on that stroke that ended her life in a matter of hours. I wasn't even able to be with my mother during the last days of her life to comfort her because we were out looking for Tara, doing everything we knew to do to find her. So I have to live with that sadness every day too, that I could not be there for her at a time when she needed me the most. What he didn't see was the days and nights that we were so overcome with grief we could barely function. The sadness that I still see in her daddy's eyes over losing his little girl breaks my heart. And while all of those situations I just described were taking place, he did nothing. He just went on living his life, not caring about the pain he had caused to others. He knew she was never coming back. He could have at least told us that, but he didn't. And the reason he knew she wasn't coming back is because he had put load after load of wood on her body and burned her. He tried to make sure there would be nothing left of her. What kind of person does that to another human being? He underestimated how much she meant to so many people, and he underestimated her family and her friends and the fact that we would never give up. Tara was a wonderful person. She was a great teacher. She always tried to help her students reach their full potential. She was a hard worker and still a student herself. She had accomplished so much in her young life, but she still had dreams and goals that she was working towards. Now, all we can do is hold her dreams in our hearts because we will never see her fulfill them. His selfish, evil acts have hurt so many people and changed our lives forever. But our words here today, and even what the court of public opinion thinks of him, should not really be what matters most to him. What should matter the very most is what God sees when he looks into his heart. Tara's dad and I respectfully ask that this court give him the maximum sentence. Thank you for allowing me to speak on our behalf today.
Your Honor, at this time, the state had presented prior notice to Mr. Fox and Mr. Dukes with regard to notice of evidence to be used in aggravation of sentence. The state would present State's Exhibit Number S1 for Sentencing 1, Exhibit Number 1, which is a certified copy of this defendant's conviction out of United States District Court of the Southern District of Georgia for the Savannah Division, United States versus Bo Dukes, for this offense entitles it conspiracy for the offense ending November 2nd, 2012, and a certified copy for these offenses as well as also the certified copy regarding a probation violation from the United States District Court of the Middle District for the same offense.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right.
Judge,
It's admitted.
that is all of the evidence in aggravation. We will, of course, reserve for argument.
All right, Mr.
Thank you,
Fox.
Your Honor. Would Ms. Dixie Hudson would like to address the court?
Thank you, Judge. I want y'all to know that your queen will never be forgotten. Your mom loves you, Bo. Your Honor, it is obvious that my son has problems. And I ask that consideration be given today, that along with incarceration, that some form of rehabilitation will also be discussed. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Judge, we would also tender in mitigation what has been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 1, which is a copy of Mr. Duke's military service record. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may. Any objection?
No objection.
All right, it's admitted.
Your Honor, with that, we would have argument. Would you like us to proceed, or would you like to hear from the state first?
Mr. Rigby, you wish to?
I'll waive
Reserve.
reserve concluding.
All right, you may make your argument.
Thank you, Your Honor. It is difficult to reconcile two different sides of Mr. Dukes. On one hand, Your Honor, he sits before you convicted by a jury for having lied on June 16, 2016 to the GBI, and in doing so concealed a confession by Ryan Duke of murder and concealed the burning and death of Miss Grinstead. On the other hand, Your Honor, as you can see from Exhibit 1, he enlisted in the U.S. Army in 2006. On October 2009, he was deployed, a combat deployment to Kirkuk, Iraq, and stayed there until October 2010. He was later deployed again into combat in Mazar-e-Sharif, Afghanistan, February 2012 through October 2012. He was honorably discharged, Your Honor, June 2013. And if you look at Block 13 of Defense Exhibit 1, you will see that Mr. Dukes is a highly decorated soldier from his time in the Army. He was awarded a Bronze Star Medal, an Army Commendation Medal, 4 Army Achievement Medals, an Army Good Conduct Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, the Afghanistan Campaign Medal with 2 campaign stars, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, the Korean Defense Service Medal, the Iraq Campaign Medal with the campaign star, the Army Service Ribbon, the Overseas Service Ribbon, the NATO Medal, a Combat Action Badge, though these actions in defense of our country cannot and do not take away what happened to Ms. Grinstead, Your Honor. They show that there is good in Mr. Dukes, that he is not entirely evil, that he is someone who, notwithstanding his actions in 2005 and 2016, is someone who has good in them. Your Honor, looking at the charges of conviction, we would submit to the court that counts 1 and 2, the false statement counts, would merge for the purposes of sentencing under Nazario v. State, 293 Georgia 480, given that the way this was indicted are multiple crimes really for the same act and for the same conduct. All 4 crimes were proved with essentially the same evidence. We would also submit to the court that counts 1 and counts 3 would merge as they cover the exact same conduct, which is the concealment of the confession of Ryan Duke. So the question becomes, what is a fair sentence for Mr. Bo Dukes? And Your Honor, we would submit to you that a sentence of 12 years would be fair in this case. 12 years. The period of time between 2005, when these actions occurred, and 2017, when Mr. Dukes, without promise of a specific charge, without promise of a specific benefit, without immunity, sat down with GBI agent Shadell and bared his soul, telling his role in what happened in 2005 and putting into motion the actions that brought Ryan Alexander Duke, the man who now stands trial for the murder of Tara Faye Grinstead, bringing him to justice, allowing Ms. Grinstead's family to have the answers they had sought for so long. Judge, you've heard the evidence in this case. I know you've been taking notes and paying close attention. And I don't think I'm stretching the truth when I tell you that had Mr. Dukes not come forward in 2017, the chances of Ryan Alexander Duke having ever been apprehended, having ever been charged, and having ever been brought to trial are marginal at best. That, Your Honor, I would submit warrants some consideration of mercy. Thank you, Judge. And Your Honor, I believe Mr. Dukes
I'm thankful for this opportunity to address the court. To the Terry Grinstead family, I'm truly sorry. Your long suffering has been unimaginable. My actions are cowardly, callous, and cruel. I was more interested in self-pity and self-preservation than doing the right thing for Tara and for you. I pray for your forgiveness. I apologize to those who were cast under a cloud of suspicion for so long. Reputations with their friends and family destroyed. I can never undo that damage, and I sincerely apologize. To the local communities, I'm sorry for the years of uncertainty, of suspicion, and mistrust placed even on the law enforcement community by my actions. And I apologize to my own family, to my mother, to Brooke Sheridan, and to her family. My actions and failures I'm responsible for alone. I failed Tara Grinstead. I failed her family. I failed the local community. And I hope these proceedings have given some closure to the many people hurt by my actions. And I want each of you to know that I am truly remorseful. Thank you.
Anything further?
That we rest, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Rigby.
Mr. Dukes buried the truth with 1,200-degree heat. He buried the secret a long time, as his own words said. With each day, after day, after day, after month, after month, after month, and year after year after year, the Grinstead family, friends, waited and waited and waited. With each day that passed, more pain was inflicted, more suffering was inflicted, more wondering inflicted. In fact, Tara's mother, Miss Faye Grinstead, died wondering what had happened to her own daughter. Waiting, wondering, wishing for some news. Anything to hold on to, anything to have hope about, anything to have some sense that she's okay. But day after day, month after month, and even over a decade later, no news. So the suffering increased, the grief increased, and the despair increased. Always wanting to look for hope. So from October of 2005 to June 2016 was all despair. And this defendant came to the Rochelle Police Department June 16th of 2016, and rather than choosing the right path, lied. Not just one act of lying, but numerous acts of lying within the same confession, same denial of his interview. Denying never talking about Tara Grinstead, denying about disposing of her body, separate acts. continued to inflict pain and suffering. Waiting, wondering, wishing continued as he chuckles. No, no, no. Hell no. You'll also recall Garland Lott's testimony from the trial, where Ryan and Bo were in the truck, and Mr. Lott said that they both, he couldn't recall which one said what, but they were both in agreement that they had killed Tara Grinstead and disposed of her body, and they were laughing about it. Oh, he's not laughing today, but he was laughing about it 2 weeks later. And he chuckled about it with Jason Shadell in 2016. Self-preservation and self-pity aside, where was the pity for the Grinstead family in 2016? No, he kept them waiting, wondering, and wishing for another 7 months. July, August, September, October, November, for Thanksgiving. Maybe they would have had some information by Thanksgiving of that year. Maybe they would have had some information by Christmas of that year. But no, he kept them wondering and wishing and waiting through the holidays. And January rolls around, and the only reason is that Brooke Sheridan leaves him. It's not because he came forward, it's because she went to her mother, and she forced him to come forward. Yeah, he was ready to talk then, because now the secret's out yet again. Well, he does confess in February of 2017, somewhat a little too late. A little too late to end the pain and the suffering, the grief, the hope, and despair that all of those years have brought. Your Honor, as counsel has argued that these counts would merge, I don't believe that they will. They are separate offenses that carry separate elements that are separate to be proved. They are indicted factually separate and distinctly. And the ones that do have similar comparisons have separate elements of the offenses. Based upon the prior conviction that has been tendered, the court is required under law to give him the maximum sentence for each of those offenses under 1710(7)(a). The 2 counts of making a false statement are both up to 5 years. That is counts 1 and 2. Count 3 for hindering the apprehension of a criminal is also a 5-year required sentence by the court. And then count 4, concealing the death of another, is a 10-year sentence as required by 1710(7)(a) due to the fact that Mr. Dukes has a prior felony conviction. The state is asking, as has Ms. Grinstead, who very eloquently expressed her family's views. The state is asking that the court sentence this defendant to the maximum punishment, and that each of these sentences run consecutive to one another, and that he receive a sentence of 25 years to serve in the state prison system.
All right, well, you know, nothing that I do here is going to alleviate the pain that the family has endured all these years. It's just an unfortunate situation that the family's had to grieve that long to determine what happened to Tara Grinstead. I just can't quite, wrap my head around, what was done. You were an adult. You were 21 years old when this happened. It wasn't like some teenage thing. But since then, his family has waited, but you chose not to come forward. Not only did you not come forward, you continued to violate the law. Even when you're in the military, you may have a good military record, but you're convicted of a felony while you were in the military. And then you violated your probation on top of that. One of those acts was just failing to do community service, which I can't imagine anything any more simple than completing community service. This could have all ended, in June of 2016. You had the opportunity then, when you were asked about this, to, whether you remembered your conversation with John McCullough or not, you certainly remembered burning the body. And that would have been the time to, to come forward and say, let me tell you what I did. I've sinned, and I'm asking for forgiveness. That would have been the time. I think it's Romans 3:23 that says, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. We all have. But that would have been the time to come forward. When you were asked about it in June of 2016. I don't take any pleasure out of sentencing anyone, but that's a part of my job. And if you will stand, I'm going to sentence you in this case. Case number 2017 CRW 038. The court's going to sentence you on count 1 to a period of 5 years to serve in the state penitentiary. On count 2, the court's going to sentence you to 5 years to serve in the state penitentiary consecutive to count 1. And on count 3, the court's going to sentence you to 5 years consecutive to count 2 to serve in the state penitentiary. And on count 4, the court's going to sentence you to 10 years consecutive to the sentence in count 3 to serve in the state penitentiary. Now, your sentence, you can appeal this conviction by filing an appeal or motion for new trial within 30 days from the date of this sentence. Do you understand that? Mr. Fox, you can assist him with that.
Yes, sir.
You also have the right to file for habeas corpus relief within 4 years from the date of this sentence. You understand that?
We do, Your Honor.
All right, that's the sentence of the court.
Your Honor, the record just reflect our objection to the non-merger.
Yes, sir. Your objection is noted. Yes, sir. Okay. All right. That concludes these proceedings. Just one sheet.